You'll never forget the first time your feet touched the cool stone of its streets. Tiled houses clinging to the mountainside, rivers reflecting a golden sunrise, and paths that seem frozen in time, as if someone had paused the world right here. This is no ordinary village. It's a place where beauty doesn't caress, it examines. Here, amidst the morning mist and the bell towers that mark the rhythm of life, visitors encounter more than just perfect landscapes. Keyong, one of the most beautiful and isolated villages in Korea, seems like something out of a dream, but the reality is quite different. Every gesture, every glance, and every step is governed by invisible codes that the locals understand perfectly. In this video, we'll see the life that doesn't appear on Instagram. The daily routine of the inhabitants, strong and captivating women shaped by centuries of tradition, the arrival of outsiders, and how attraction is expressed in silences and gestures that aren't always understood. We will discover the rustic yet powerful cuisine, the rituals that govern life, and the areas rarely seen by visitors. But a word of warning. Perfection here demands physical and emotional stamina. Anyone who thinks Keyong is just a picture postcard trip will discover a world where desire, tradition, and unspoken codes test everyone. Arriving at a place that doesn't expect visitors, getting to Keyong isn't easy. Narrow roads wind through mountains that seem to touch the sky, and every bend offers a new thrill. Precipices, ravines, and trails where only an experienced vehicle would dare to venture. Public transportation is infrequent, and the buses that arrive from nearby towns operate on strict schedules that seem dictated by the mountain itself. Many travelers choose to hike, and they soon discover that the steep trails are not just a simple tourist walk. They are a physical test that separates those who are only looking for photos from those who truly want to understand the place. The first visual impact is striking. From a distance, the town seems suspended in time. Wooden houses with red tiles hug one another. Cobblestone streets snake between the hills, and the light of dawn filters through the mist like a mystical veil. Here there are no skyscrapers, no frenetic traffic, no blinding lights. Only the mountain, the river, and life unfolding at its own pace. For a foreigner arriving from Seoul or Busan, the difference is striking. Keyong doesn't conform to urban patterns, doesn't bow to haste, and doesn't submit to technology. Every gesture, every movement is marked by tradition, necessity, and the mutual care of those who live in close proximity. The culture shock begins with the first greeting. Locals observe visitors with a mixture of curiosity and distance, silently assessing whether they understand the village's unwritten rules. Respect isn't demanded, it's verified. Whoever stumbles upon custom, whoever inadvertently invades privacy, is quickly branded as an outsider. Without words, without explanations, the visitor realizes that Keyong doesn't receive, it examines. The herders and farmers who walk the paths carrying baskets of vegetables, guiding flocks of goats or cattle, represent the essence of the village: strength, endurance, and patience. The daily routine is demanding, and every task requires precision and care. Children who accompany their parents learn from a young age that the mountain dictates the rhythm and that any carelessness can have consequences. For an outsider, witnessing this is both fascinating and terrifying. Life here isn't designed to be easy or comfortable, but rather to be sustained, step by step, generation after generation. Those who arrive with a tourist mindset soon discover that Keong has unspoken rules: where to walk, how to greet, when it's appropriate to interrupt a conversation, and above all, how to respect the community's silence. Long glances and subtle gestures speak louder than words, and a mistake that would be trivial in the city can cost you a neighbor's trust. It's a place where isolation isn't just geographical but social. The codes of conduct are as important as daily survival. First contact with the locals can be disconcerting. There are no free smiles or open invitations. Hospitality is measured, earned, and observed. The elders sitting on porches, the young people guiding the flocks, all participate in a silent equilibrium that ensures the community's cohesion. Visitors quickly learn that only those who show genuine respect for the routine, the land, and the animals manage to connect. Anyone who ignores this, even unintentionally, is branded an intruder, and the mountain seems to remind them of this with every step. Furthermore, arriving in Keong reveals the contradiction that makes the place so fascinating. It is one of the most beautiful villages in Korea, with landscapes that seem straight out of a fairy tale. But this beauty is demanding. It doesn't merely dazzle, it tests physical endurance while traversing trails, patience in adapting to a different rhythm, and emotional strength in encountering the discretion of its inhabitants. It is not a setting for passive tourists. It is a place that selects those who understand and respect it. Village women. Strength, beauty, and restrained desire. From the moment you cross Keong's central square, you notice something that doesn't appear on any postcard. The gaze of the local women is neither casual nor inherently friendly. Their eyes assess with precision, calculating the intentions of each visitor, and everything is measured silently. It's not mere curiosity. It's a system of inherited codes, a wordless language that dictates who belongs, who is respected, and who can be ignored. Physically, the village women reflect the mountain that surrounds them. Strong, resilient bodies, shaped by years of work in the fields and by steep paths they climb and descend with herds of goats and cows. Their hands bear the calluses of real life, and their steps are firm and confident. Their beauty is not theatrical. There are no poses or makeup to distract from the authenticity of their presence. Every gesture, every nod of the head is measured, as if their bodies were an extension of the local traditions. Compared to visitors and tourists, the difference is immediate and clear. Foreign women, often captivated by the isolation and beauty of the mountains, display open curiosity and uninhibited gestures. Foreign men attempt to approach with smiles and words, often without understanding the local code. Here, desire isn't shouted or declared, it's managed. A look that's too direct, an inappropriate gesture, even a well-intentioned compliment can instantly close doors. The woman of Keong isn't a prize. She's a mirror of the culture that shaped her. Body language is subtle yet absolute. A slight tilt of the torso, crossed arms, a gait that maintains distance, all communicate boundaries. The women assess respect before any openness, and visitors soon learn that there's no written guide to interpreting these signals. Everything is absorbed through constant observation and humility. It's a system that protects reputation, privacy, and above all, female authority in an environment that doesn't forgive frivolity. Attracting the attention of a woman from Keong requires time, patience, and a deep understanding of her surroundings. Some foreigners have tried to approach with gifts or kind words, but many have failed. A story well known among the locals tells of a young German tourist fascinated by a young shepherdess who tried to help her move a flock without asking. She looked at him, barely smiled, and continued on her way, leaving the visitor stunned. A silent lesson in respect and patience. This kind of lesson is common. Here, mistakes are learned without explanation, and the consequence is immediate distance. Another example occurred with a group of Japanese tourists who arrived captivated by the physical stamina and natural beauty of the local shepherds. One of them tried to approach with affectionate gestures and quick conversation, but was met with appraising glances and a subtle correction. A change of posture, a turn of the head, a silent no that is only perceived by those who are attentive. The lesson was clear. Admiration is permitted, But familiarity is not granted without passing through the invisible rules of the village. The desire here is restrained, but palpable. It's evident in the way the women observe visitors, how they maintain a distance without losing focus, and how they smile subtly when they sense respect and patience. There's no theatrics, no overt innuendo, just a silent game of mutual assessment that can last for weeks or months. Each encounter is a balancing act between curiosity, interest, and preserving reputation. Moreover, these women's strength isn't limited to their bodies. It's deeply rooted in their mindset. They know that the village's isolation makes them guardians of traditions, and their autonomy reflects the demands of their environment. They can manage flocks, work the land, and lead family tasks with a precision that impresses even the most seasoned outsiders. This physical and emotional strength combines authority with restrained sensuality, a combination that doesn't seek to be displayed but evokes a quiet fascination. However, this restrained desire also creates tension. Stories of visitors misinterpreting the signals are common. One European tourist, believing a smile implied romantic interest, tried to approach her during a farming task. The local woman responded with distant politeness, but her disapproval was clear. The visitor realized too late that he had crossed an invisible line. These experiences become internal cautionary tales, passed down from visitor to visitor, reinforcing the idea that Keong is not a place where rules are optional. Routine, work, and endurance. Dawn in the mountain villages of Korea doesn't arrive gently. It bursts forth with the crowing of roosters, the creaking of wooden doors, and the wind descending from the peaks. There's no alarm to announce the start of the day, but rather a rhythm imposed by nature and work. In these villages, routine isn't optional. It's the force that keeps everyone alive. Local farmers rise long before the sun appears. Their first task is to walk through the fields and orchards to ensure nothing has been damaged by the night's chill or by livestock roaming freely. Farming here is hard. The mountain soils are stony, and the terraces that support the crops require constant maintenance. Every seed sown, every furrow opened, is a testament to physical endurance and patience. There's no modern machinery to ease the burden. Everything is done by hand or with simple tools left behind by their ancestors. Meanwhile, the women of the village manage an equally demanding schedule. Milking goats and cows, preparing basic meals for the day, caring for the children, and keeping the house clean are tasks that alternate with tending the crops and preparing for market days. Everything is measured by nature's clock. Winter is harsh and long, while summer is short, intense, and full of work. There is no room for distraction. Survival depends on consistency and completing each task on time. Local markets are another facet of the routine. Families bring their produce, vegetables, cheeses, eggs, river fish, seasonal fruits. There, not only goods are exchanged, but also information. Who is successful with their harvests? Who needs help? Which animals require attention? It is a space where the community observes itself and maintains its equilibrium, and where visitors must learn to move with respect. A harsh word or an inappropriate gesture can mark a foreigner as an intruder, and in such a close-knit place, that carries more weight than any material mistake. Winter imposes its own code. The peaks are covered in snow, and the paths become treacherous. Every trip into the fields is a calculated risk. Slips, minor avalanches, and cold-related illnesses are constant threats. Families hunker down, tools are checked, and animals require attention even in extreme temperatures. Life in these conditions allows no room for carelessness. Children learn from an early age, helping with light chores, tending to small animals, observing, and listening. Learning is practical and constant, and innocence is intertwined with responsibility. Summer, in contrast, is a whirlwind of activity. The days are short but intense. Harvesting, transporting produce to market, repairing cabins, and maintaining water and irrigation systems. Each family follows a calendar that seems synchronized with the sun and moon. The community functions like a human clock, where everyone's rhythm affects all the others. There is no room for improvisation, and those who don't adapt quickly become isolated. Raising children in this environment is particularly demanding. It's not just about teaching them knowledge, but about instilling physical and mental resilience. From a young age, children participate in age-appropriate tasks, feeding chickens, gathering firewood, and helping prepare food. At the same time, they observe how adults manage the challenges of the weather, the animals, and neighborly relations. Growing up here means learning to manage strength, emotions, and time. Obedience and prudence are valued as much as strength and skill. But the routine isn't just work. It's also mental resilience. Solitude is a constant companion. The narrow valleys isolate them from modernity, and the long, winding roads limit contact with the outside world. Even foreign visitors who arrive out of curiosity soon feel the quiet pressure of local life. There's no room for distractions or superficiality. Every interaction is measured, every gesture observed. The mountain teaches those who arrive that respect is earned, not taken for granted. They depend on each other for survival, mutual aid in moving livestock, repairing roofs damaged by snow, or caring for the sick. There is a silent solidarity that goes unspoken but keeps everyone safe. The interdependence is so intense that individual mistakes can have collective consequences, reinforcing discipline and constant observation of one's own and others' behavior. Moreover, visitors soon learn that physical attractiveness and youth are no substitute for understanding the local code. Strength, patience, and the ability to observe silently are the true keys to connecting with the locals. A woman helping in the house or a man herding a flock is not interested in superficial praise. She seeks respect for her work and for the time each person dedicates to maintaining life's balance. The landscapes, though dazzling, are not a haven for leisure. Every hill, every meadow, every river presents a constant challenge. Walking along narrow paths as the wind blows cold, carrying tools, herding animals, or tending crops are activities that define the day. Those who underestimate the mountain's harshness quickly learn that beauty is demanding. It dazzles, but it also judges. Ultimately, life in Keong combines intense work, constant vigilance, early education, and emotional resilience. The daily routine is not just a series of tasks, it's a code that teaches respect, patience, and community. Each sunrise brings a challenge, each sunset a lesson, and each interaction an opportunity to test one's abilities against the rigor of the mountain and tradition. Only those who accept this rhythm and value both physical and mental strength manage to integrate, earn respect, and understand the essence of life here. A constant balance between solitude and community, effort and survival, beauty and discipline. The mountain offers no second chances, but those who learn its lessons find within it a profound world of resilience and meaning that transcends any tourist postcard. Eating to survive, rustic gastronomy and ritual. In Keong, food is neither a luxury nor a pastime. It is the very foundation of survival. As the sun filters through the valleys and the morning mist settles on the tiled roofs, families are already preparing the first meal of the day. Everything carefully planned to provide energy and stamina for endless days of work in the fields, orchards, or with the livestock. Kimchi, that fermented cabbage and chili that has made Korea famous, is not just about flavor. It is concentrated resilience. It is prepared in advance, in large quantities, and preserved for the winter days when obtaining fresh vegetables is impossible. Each bite provides vitamins, calories, and above all, strength. Accompanied by freshly cooked rice, fish soups, and seasonal vegetables, food here becomes a ritual that awakens the body and prepares the mind. Fresh fish from nearby rivers and lakes is another constant. The villagers know that protein is essential for maintaining the muscle mass and energy needed for herding or harvesting on mountain terraces. Meat, when available, is usually cured or smoked, extending its shelf life and ensuring that each family has supplies during days of hard work. Fermented dishes such as doenjang, soybean paste, or gochujang, chili paste, serve the dual purpose of adding flavor and nutrition, and are combined with rice and soups to form complete meals that could sustain a worker for 12 or 14 hours. Tea, whether green or made from local herbs, is not just a beverage, it is a ritual. Each cup is served with respect, even among family members, and symbolizes pause and concentration. The act of drinking tea teaches patience. In a place where haste can be dangerous due to the difficult terrain, sitting down to drink and eat properly is part of the discipline dictated by the mountain. Eating is also a deeply regulated social act. The table is not a place for idle chatter, but a stage where attention, respect, and understanding of the community's codes are measured. Visitors quickly learn that refusing an offered dish is not simply impolite. It can be interpreted as disrespect for the effort of the person who prepared it, or even a sign of arrogance. Therefore, each accepted bite is a silent gesture of integration and respect. There are unwritten rules that govern every meal. The elders eat first, and their gestures and expressions set the tone for how the rest should proceed. One observes, learns, and replicates. Talking too much while eating can be frowned upon. Silence here is as nourishing as the food itself. It allows one to absorb the energy of the surroundings and the group, while studying the proper way to behave. The very preparation of the food is a ritual that reflects the history and needs of the community. During the winter, families dedicate weeks to fermenting vegetables, curing meat, and storing rice. Every action is meticulous. The salt, the temperature, the humidity. Everything is precisely controlled so that the food lasts and retains its properties. It's an art that combines survival and tradition. Children participate from a young age, learning that cooking isn't just entertainment, but a central part of life and family resilience. Foreign visitors, especially those curious about the culture, often underestimate the depth of these norms. A Japanese or European tourist arriving expecting an aesthetic experience or a simple picnic may encounter disapproving gestures if they don't respect the rituals. Accepting food with both hands, waiting for the elder's signal to begin, tasting each dish offered without disapproval. Even a misplaced smile or a superficial comment about the food can make the difference between being welcomed and being considered an insensitive outsider. Food also reflects hierarchies and reputation. A shared dish can strengthen bonds. A careless gesture can create tension. Hospitality is a powerful currency, and the villagers offer it, but they also value it. They know that respect for food and the effort involved is an indicator of how someone will handle daily life and the responsibilities of the place. Foreigners in the village, fascination and silence. When the first tourists arrive in Keong, the ancient calm is broken for barely an instant. Narrow roads winding through mountains and steep paths suddenly welcome foreign cars. Backpacks, cameras and suitcases mingle with hay baskets and mud-caked farmers' boots. Among them are Japanese, European and Latin American tourists, many drawn by the promise of idyllic landscapes, hidden temples, and the authenticity of a Korea that seems frozen in time. The first shock occurs almost immediately, the difference between the postcard image and reality. The locals, shaped by decades of physical labor, extreme cold and isolation, don't seek easy smiles or superficial interaction. They are strong, resilient and possess a firm character evident in their posture, their gait, and the precision of every gesture. They are not hostile, but neither are they overly hospitable. Each glance assesses without confrontation, gauging whether the visitor understands or ignores the village's unspoken rules. The local women, in particular, are captivating. Defined features, bodies hardened by years of outdoor life, steady hands, and a direct gaze. There's no theatricality or exaggerated gestures. Their allure lies in control, discipline, and confidence. Japanese tourists are intrigued by the strong, composed local men. European and Latin American women are often struck by the women's physical stamina and quiet independence. The attraction isn't spoken, it's felt in glances, in pauses during conversation, in subtle gestures that might seem confusing to a foreigner. This mutual fascination creates silences heavy with tension. A chance encounter at the market can last longer than expected, simply because both sides are assessing each other. The visitors trying to decipher invisible codes, the locals deciding whether to offer a glimpse into their intimacy or maintain their distance. Every smile, every nod, every acceptance of a social gesture, like sharing tea or trying a bowl of kimchi, becomes a small act of non-verbal communication, laden with meaning. Misunderstandings are inevitable. A European tourist who stands too close or speaks too loudly might be perceived as disrespectful. A Japanese woman who tries to show interest with gentle gestures might be interpreted as shy or aloof. Locals don't reprimand or correct openly. The teaching is silent, almost imperceptible. and the tension is noticeable in small signs, a shift in gaze, a nod, or a change in the direction of the conversation. Sometimes attraction intersects with intense cultural curiosity. A local woman might observe a tourist with fascination, analyzing her mannerisms, her way of interacting with the villagers, even her respect for food or public space. The local men, accustomed to discretion, carefully gauge how others react to the strength and resilience of their surroundings. Who maintains emotional composure, who feels uncomfortable, and who manages to momentarily integrate. Some stories stand out because the emotional tension becomes almost palpable. A young Latin American tourist, for example, was invited to share tea with a local family after helping with the cows. What seemed like a simple act turned into a silent examination. His gestures, the way he held the cup, his posture, and his responses to even the simplest questions determined whether he would be accepted or if the encounter would end in awkward silence. In another instance, a Japanese tourist was impressed by the strength of a local woman carrying hay for hours. Silent admiration, gestures of mutual respect, unspoken, created an intangible bond between them. The cultural contrast is stark. While tourists expect friendly interaction, selfies, or easy explanations, the villagers value discretion, patience, and the ability to observe. There's no need for much talking. The village teaches through gestures, glances, and silences, and those who don't pick up on them feel immediately disconnected. Attraction may exist, but it's shrouded in layers of social code, unwritten rules, and constant evaluation. Furthermore, the arrival of outsiders tests the emotional resilience of visitors. Local women aren't seduced by empty words or exaggerated gestures. Admiration must be expressed through respect, genuine interest in customs, and a willingness to follow the village routine. Men likewise don't show interest easily. Attraction is carefully managed, and only those who demonstrate sensitivity and patience manage to elicit small signs of acceptance. Invisible. Here in Keelong, life isn't measured in days or seasons. It's measured in honor, reputation, and observed silences. From afar, visitors might think the villagers simply live peacefully among mountains and rivers, cultivating rice or tending animals. But the reality is deeper. There's an invisible web of hierarchies, codes, and rules not written in any manual, learned only through living, observing, and respecting. The first impression when trying to integrate into these communities is clear. Here, no one ignores anyone, but neither does everyone have the right to be treated equally. There are families that have lived in the same valley for generations, their surnames evoking history, reputation, and authority. Their decisions are respected not because they are official, but because the community has learned that tradition maintains balance. A newcomer, however well-intentioned, navigates these codes with caution. A misinterpreted gesture, a word out of place can immediately brand them as a foreigner, someone who doesn't yet understand how life works here. Honor is a fundamental pillar. There's no arguing, only observing and respecting. A single action, however small, can be enough to affect one villager's perception of another. How the elderly are treated, how other people's property is cared for, how an invitation or a favor is accepted. Everything is silently recorded. A joke that would be harmless in modern cities can be taken as disrespectful, and correction never comes with shouts or complaints. It's felt in the distance, in posture, in the way neighbors look at you as you cross the square or walk along the paths. Within this system, long-time residents and newcomers live different realities. Villagers of several generations understand the nuances: who works more than they talk, who respects the community calendar, who observes the rituals and customs, and who risks breaking the unspoken rules. Newcomers, on the other hand, must learn by watching, listening, and adapting. The process has no formal supervision. It's a silent learning process that can last months or years, and it determines whether someone integrates or remains an outsider forever. Invisible codes manifest themselves at every turn, from how one greets an elder on the road to how one shares food or helps move a flock of goats. Every gesture communicates something: respect, obedience, an understanding of the hierarchy. Even gestures of attraction or romantic interest must conform to these norms. The way a young man approaches a local woman is carefully observed. No overt comment is necessary. Reputation is built with consistency and discretion. There are stories of conflicts resolved without words, tales passed down through generations. For example, a new farmer once dropped a tool in a neighbor's barn while helping out, accidentally breaking an unwritten rule about respecting property. No one reprimanded him directly. The next day, the neighbor avoided his gaze all day, and only after weeks of demonstrating diligence, care, and humility did the newcomer regain his quiet acceptance in the community. Another story tells of a foreign visitor who tried to participate in the harvest without understanding the local priorities. He didn't follow the traditional work sequence or respect the hierarchy of the elders. His initial enthusiasm was ignored for days, until he began to learn the routines by observing before acting. Finally, the community accepted him, but only after he demonstrated patience, respect, and adaptability. In these villages, learning doesn't happen through words, but through observed and consistent actions. Silence is a powerful tool. In meetings, no one needs to explain anything. Decisions are made, disagreements are resolved, and punishments are applied through observation and temporary exclusion. This system, which may seem cold to an outsider, works because it maintains balance in an environment where each family depends on the others for survival. A wrongdoing affects not only the person who commits it, but everyone who depends on them, neighbors, family members, and animals included. Beliefs, rituals, and superstitions. In Keong, daily life cannot be understood without considering the presence of the unseen. Faith and ancestral rituals form the backbone of the community. There are no spectacular churches or temples for the casual visitor to see. What exists are intimate spaces, domestic altars, small shrines, and seasonal celebrations where villagers connect with their ancestors, nature, and local deities. Every daily gesture, from greeting the sunrise to arranging food on the table, carries with it an intention that blends respect, gratitude, and spiritual protection. Local superstitions are as real as the mountains that surround the village. The evil eye, for example, is feared and prevented with homemade amulets or discreet rituals that might seem strange to a foreigner. The gaze of a visitor who doesn't understand these codes can be interpreted as carelessness, arrogance, or even a threat, and the villagers sense it immediately. Respecting the memory of ancestors is another pillar. During certain celebrations, no one speaks aloud, and simple gestures, such as lighting incense or bowing before an altar, convey humility and a sense of belonging to the community. Sexual life and relationships are also subject to these invisible codes. Desire is controlled, managed, and expressed implicitly, in accordance with the norms of respect and reputation. Superstitions and the fear of disrupting an ancestral balance regulate these interactions. A misinterpreted gesture can affect someone's social standing, while discretion and patience are valued and rewarded with acceptance. Thus, tradition becomes a silent social regulation, where every daily act reinforces order, hierarchy, and group cohesion. Seasonal rituals, such as offering the first crops or cleaning family altars before winter, connect the inhabitants to the cycle of nature. Every action has a dual purpose: to honor the ancestors and to protect the well-being of the community. Visitors who ignore these practices not only feel out of place but also risk being perceived as someone who doesn't understand the invisible fabric that sustains the village's life. In daily interactions, faith, superstition, and tradition combine to create an environment where every action carries symbolic weight. Life in these villages is, therefore, a delicate balance between the tangible and the spiritual, where the beauty of the landscapes and the power of the mountains can only be fully appreciated by understanding the cultural depth that governs every glance, every gesture, and every decision. If someone arrives in Keong seeking only idyllic scenery and silence, they soon discover that their surroundings are much more than a picture postcard. It is an environment that tests resilience, discipline, and sensitivity. Every cobblestone street, every flock of sheep, every silent glance from the local women has a purpose that transcends aesthetics. The community teaches, warns, and evaluates, even without words.